Hey guys, it's Jess and I am here today with my August wrap-up. This is probably the biggest stack of books I've had since February, and I can attribute that to the booktubeathon that happened the first week of August, where I read these 3 books. I am pretty sure it was only these 3. I may have read Amy and Roger's Epic Adventure as well, but I don't think so. I know for sure I read Paper Towns by John Green, Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Jennifer Cohn and David Levithan, and then Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I don't think I finished this within the booktubeathon. I may have not. I will link my booktubeathon wrap-up down below, so if you want to check that out, go ahead. I thought this was a reread for me. However, I don't really remember any of the story, and I gave this 5 out of 5. Great book. Probably one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. If you're not familiar with Ready Player One, basically this huge video game called The Oasis, which is basically like a Second Life. A lot of people connect it to Second Life, the game, or WoW. It's a mass multiplayer online platform where people pretty much create a whole new life. You can use in-game money for real-life purchases like your rent and groceries and stuff like that. And then the creator of the game dies, and he releases this test where an Easter egg, pretty much, where someone gets to inherit both the game and his like multi-billion-dollar fortune if they can discover the Easter egg. And there's 3 gates you have to get through, and our main character is in the race to discover this. Him and a group of other players he meets, and then they're fighting against a huge corporation who's trying to take over to better monetize the Oasis, because currently it's free to play, and if you want, it's basically pay to look pretty is what it's called in the video game world. You pay for gear and other things, and like I said, you can pay with in-game money for real-life purchases because the economic status of the in-game money in Oasis is in better standing than the American dollar. It's a really, really interesting story. I highly recommend it. It was amazing. Highly recommend it. Then I read Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson. This is about Amy, who just got into a horrible accident recently, and her mother has moved her entire family across country, and she has to get over there. However, she is not driving currently, so Roger, a family friend, has to go with her. And Amy is in high school, Roger's a college student, and they just kind of build this friendship and relationship with each other as they go from West Coast to East Coast. It's a very fluffy, contemporary, fun story, super fast. I would recommend it if you like contemporary stories. If you don't, I would pass. It's probably not your cup of tea. My biggest qualm with it was that there wasn't that much character development until the very end of the story. So they're going along, they have this road trip, they're having a good time, laughing, and then, through the whole time, Amy's like, oh, I don't want to share any details. I don't want to get to know this kid too well. I don't want to let him know my secrets, my life. And then at the end, they're one state away, and Amy starts spilling the secrets, and she develops the character in, I think it's 3 or 4 chapters, and their relationship develops, and they kind of make a stronger connection. And that was my biggest qualm with the book, is that there wasn't really a whole lot of development that went on until the very end. Right when the story starts to get good and you're really excited about what's going on, it's done. And that was a small annoyance I had with it. But if you want a quick beach read, something that's going to take you maybe 1 or 2 days, I highly recommend this. Then I read Legends of Orkney The Red Sun by Elaine Adams. This is the first in what will be a series. I'm not sure how many. It is a middle grade book. I was not a fan, unfortunately. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I picked it up at Denver Comic Con as an early release, but was requested not to do any reviews until August. It did come out this month. My biggest problem was that it was so much like every other fantasy book I've read. I saw pieces of Harry Potter, and I saw pieces of Percy Jackson, and I saw pieces of Lord of the Rings, all smashed up into one book. And I'm not saying that it wasn't a good book. Obviously, it was pretty decent. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. However, I probably will not continue the series. If I see that the second book gets pretty good reviews, I might pick it up. But as it stands now, it's not really my thing Maybe that's because it's middle grade. I would say that if you do know someone in that middle grade age range, this would be a great introduction to fantasy. Because there's so much action, there's a lot of high blood pumping events that go on, it could be a great read for someone who really wants to get into fantasy but maybe isn't familiar. But as it stands for me, I was not a fan. I was not too into it. But if you know a middle grader, younger reader who wants to learn about fantasy, but maybe The Hobbit is a little too high, or Lord of the Rings, Percy Jackson's also a good one. And I will say right up here, it says Percy Jackson meets Norse mythology in this captivating adventure. So they already compare it to Percy Jackson like I have. Perhaps I should have taken that more to heart before I read it. And then the last book I read is It Night or Day by Fern Schumer Chapman. And this book, so good. Definitely 5 out of 5 stars. This book follows a young 12-year-old girl escaping Nazi Germany. And she comes to Chicago in the 1,000 Children Project, which was a small project to allow younger Jewish children to escape Nazi Germany without notice. So they kind of pulled out 10 to 12 of them a month for 10 years, ended up saving somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 of these children. And she was one of those children, Edith, if you say it in German. And this follows her story. This follows her kind of getting put into a home with her uncle and her aunt, who is a horrible woman, and really just wanted some extra help and some extra money. But it's a very, very motivational story about how unfortunate circumstances can really push you to do better and push you to be a better person and exceed in what you're doing. If you enjoy World War II stories, this is based on a true story. This is based on one of the 1,000 children. I would recommend picking this up. It's very, very short. It's 200, I think, maybe 210 pages. Very short, and highly recommend it. It is so good. Heartbreaking, sad, but still motivational. Really recommend it. And then the last book that I'm reading right now that I will not finish by tomorrow, but I will continue to read, is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. This is book 1 of 3. This is book 1 of 3 in the first Law series. It is a fantasy. This is a recommendation by my sister. So this will be in next month's wrap up, but I am going to try to get quite a bit more into it either today or tomorrow. And there we have it. There is my August wrap up. Please let me know what you read down below, or if you read any of these books, let me know your thoughts. And that's all I have today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!